Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which I have the pleasure of talking about the 45 TP, the brand new tier 7 Polish Tech 3 tank. And what I gotta say about this is that it's kind of a double-sided sword, simply because if you manage to get yourself top tier, so fighting tier 7 and tier 6, it's going to be an extremely good tank, simply because your armor is packing, your gun is amazing, and all those little factors that are making this tank really good at its own tier. But if you are facing tier 8, let's say that things are going to be a little bit different, because here you don't have any armor. But let's take a look at those statistics together. First of all, the gun looks similar to the tier 8, 0.33 of gun accuracy, a little bit of a better DPM because here you're sitting at 2.150, 8.10 seconds of reload, 175 with your regular shell, 225 millimeters of penetration with your gold shell, 290 alpha damage for 8 degrees of gun depression. Let's say that featuring tungsten shell on this thing, you are packing some serious gun power. Of course, on top of this, you have a good mobility, not necessarily the best, let's say that it's average plus, because you're sitting at 35 kilometers per hour that you can also improve using improved gear oil, so to climb up to a little bit more. Now for the rest of the tank, let's say that your turret speed is good on both the hull and the turret, and your armor is original. Here, you can take a look at the armor profile of the tank. And first of all, you have the little cupola that is quite easy to penetrate, sitting at 160 millimeters. You also have the weak spot at the front, which sits at 115 millimeters. But do not get bothered by this, simply because if you take a look at this tank on the side, it's extremely hard to actually penetrate that area because it's extremely small. It's not like other tanks where the lower part of the hull takes up to nearly 50% of the frontal hull. Here it's sitting at probably something like 25%, which is definitely harder for your opponents to penetrate. The upper part of the hull on the other side can still bounce a lot of shells because it sits at 190 millimeters, but as soon as someone uses some gold shell, it's over for you. For the turret, it's the exact same. You're sitting at between 210 and 220 millimeters of armor, which is extremely good for you to be able to bounce some tanks like IS, SUs, etc. But as soon as, once again, people are switching to gold and they have a high penetration, you are a literal big bad target. Now for the rest of the tank, it's sitting at 100 millimeters on the side, and obviously the rear that is easy to penetrate as well, but I mean it's kind of logic, we're not gonna bother. Now if we angle the tank a little bit inside script, let's say like this, you see that it's extremely effective, and it's actually how you want to play it, because here you increase your average armor on the front at 230 and on your side at 250, and if you use your 8 degrees of gun depression, it doesn't change that much because you can still get penetrated into the cupola, and it even makes it easier for your opponents to penetrate it. So concerning the replay, we are playing top tier, which is definitely the best matchmaking ever for your tank, because I want to recall you, if you are playing in tier 8, you are going to struggle bouncing off your targets or about making your opponents bounce. So we decided straight to go to the middle of the map, simply because as I have a tank that is really versatile, I feel like this is where I belong. And we are going to be here completely alone, you're going to see, and I realized that a little bit too late, simply because my teammates went on the left side of the map. But this is not a side I'm comfortable with, and I know it's a mistake to go alone on one side, but I decided to try it anyway, simply to see how this tank would perform against the heavies that I'm 100% sure to face on the right side of the map. So there we go, we are going to try to push forward. For the moment, you see that our good mobility allows us to get there in no time, but sooner or later we are going to encounter the enemies. There is the KV3, and unfortunately for us, he's not alone. So there we go, I'm trying to find a position from which I can sink some shots on the KV3, and there is the Tiger 1. Not a problem, you will say to me, because we have 8 degrees of gun depression, we are in all down right now, but we have something to deal with, the tier 6 on the other side of the map. So I'm gonna go in straight, taking a shot in the process, but it's not a problem. We sneak a shot in the ammo rack of the Tiger 131, and right now I'm thinking, okay, you know what, Pantoufleee, you know where the ammo rack is, so let's shoot again where it's located in order to be able to ammo rack totally the Tiger, and luckily for us, we managed to pull that off. Now we only have to deal with the KV3 that is doing, actually not have a clue, using tungsten shell. Because what helped us here is the combination between adrenaline but also tungsten shell that allowed us to destroy the Amarak on the Tiger. Now comes the time for us to retreat a little bit. I had two choices here. I could push forward, get the tank destroyers and killing them in the process, or I can try to deal with the KV3 and the 40 TP Habiha that we have on the other side. And I'm gonna go for that second option, simply because if I push, those heavy tanks have the possibility of circling me and getting me back there. So in order for me to get it as soon as possible and to secure my kills, but also to secure my position, I want to kill the low life targets. And this is why I decided to push the KV3 as soon as the guy shot. So there we go. Thanks to our mobility, we're probably going to be able to sneak a shot, and on top of that, the KV3 lacks of gun depression, which allows us to get our second kill and passing 2k damage. Now comes the time for us to focus on the 40 TP. And here I'm going to try something, because that's the first time I saw the back of a 45 TP, so we are going to have the pleasure to see if it's possible for you to penetrate it with HE on its back. And it seems like, yeah, it's possible, but unfortunately my RNG decided that no, this one would not be an HE penetrating. Not a problem, we go for a second time, and there we managed to pull that off. We ram it in the process, and we finish him off using, once again, an HE. Securing 3 kills and 2.7k damage, I am heading back to the rest of the opponents, the Comet and the Yak Panzer. We have obviously the camping tank destroyer here, and I'm not gonna bother anymore. I have tungsten shells, so I can possibly one-shot the guy when I arrive here, and this is exactly what we're gonna do. I wanna remind you that this tank features 290 alpha damage, which is definitely something you wanna look forward to. So, for the playstyle, you saw what I did. At first, I went for some hold down, because that's what works the best with this, because the tank is naturally angled for you to sustain in hold down. The second one is pushing through if you are top tier. You saw that I pushed the Tiger, the Habiha, and also the KV3 all by myself, and even if I was lucky on the Amarak, that was still a good idea. So there we go, we sneak a shot on the Comet without using tungsten shell, and I feel like I'm not gonna use tungsten shell anymore right there, and I should have a big mistake here on the Yak Panzer, not using it. Therefore, I'm gonna try to maybe Amarak it, and no, I can't Amarak it. So let's kill it, taking the shot from the Comet as well, so I'm hiding as fast as possible, allowing my SU to kill the Comet, saving me from an inevitable death. Victory, all enemy tanks are destroyed, and with it comes a first class, 3.5k alpha damage, average damage for the game, sorry, high caliber, and pretty much every single medal you could expect this tank to put out. Basically, let's say that this tank here has everything to seduce you when it's top tier, because when you're bottom tier, you are really gonna struggle, and it's definitely not making it a tank worth keeping in your garage. You should definitely prefer the tier 8, the 53 TP, which is overall way better. So hopefully you enjoyed, guys. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share, and personally, I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.